Sin of Adam and Eve is now going to enter not just their kids, but creeps into society as well. And that is going to be the problem of all of human existence. That's why there's problems. That's why there's murder and all of the wars and so on and so forth. Is that sin is not just in the individual, it's in all of our societies. And it was begun in the breastplate of the archangel before the presence of God, that's the devil, but it spilled over into the Garden of Eden through Adam and Eve. Then Cain kills Abel, and now it just starts to run rampant through cities. And that's the point of these verses, because remember, Israel is about to enter the promised land. They have to understand why there's so many problems in the promised land. Verse 17, Cain knew his wife, and she conceived, and she bore Enoch. Now there's going to be another Enoch later. This is not the famous Enoch. This is the one who Cain gave birth to. So he built a city. That's the important part. Here now all of a sudden we have the first references to cities. So obviously a lot of time is being scoped here. These guys are living very, very long lives. People are procreating, and they're organizing themselves into cities. So he built a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son, Enoch. So Cain goes out, he's having kids, he builds a city, has a son named Enoch, names the city now Enoch. So to Enoch was born Irad. Now Cain now becomes a grandfather. Irad was the father of Mehujael, and Mehujael fathered Methusael, don't confuse him with Methuselah, and Methusael fathered Lamech. We're now at the 7th generation. A lot of time is being scoped here. Lamech is going to be important, and so the text stops on him. Now there's going to be another Lamech later in the lineage of Noah. Not that one. This is the Lamech that comes from Cain, and he's important because the text stops. Verse 19. Lamech took 2 wives. The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other was Zillah. Now, we're supposed to be monogamous. God created Eve for Adam, and all of a sudden now, the boundary of marriage has been transgressed. And you're going to find that through all of the Old Testament, and you're also going to find it in many places in the world today. It's not sanctioned by God. It's a sin of man transgressing the boundary of marriage that God gave for creation. Now, why is that important? Because ultimate marriage is a picture of Jesus and his church and our intimacy with God. Marriage, or faithlessness in marriage, becomes a picture of worshiping other gods and idolatry. So Cain is on a downward scale, a downward slide. Through his relatives, we hit Lamech, and it gets really bad. So Lamech then has these 2 wives instead of 1 wife. And verse 20, Ada, that's his first wife, starts bearing children. She bears Jabal. He was the father of those who dwell in the tents and live in livestock. So communities are developing. His brother's name was Jubal. Just change of a vowel in there. Now he was the father of those who play the lyre and the pipe. Now it is a generalization, but culture is developing. That's the point here. So cities are developing, culture is developing, and sin's going to affect everything. Now Zillah, the other wife of Lamech, also bore Tubal-Cain. He was the forger of instruments of bronze and iron. The sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. Now, it's not giving all the exact relatives and the family tree in the sense that here is all the people who started working with bronze and all the people that started playing instruments. It's scoping out the general, here are cities being made and here's culture being formed, and it's coming down through Cain's unrighteous life, through Lamech in the 7th generation, and his children who are creating civilization, but in that, sin is going to run rampant. And we know that because of what the text now says in verse 23. Here Lamech starts to brag. Lamech said to his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice, you wives of Lamech. Listen to what I say. I have killed a man for wounding me, a young man for striking me. Now he brags. If Cain's revenge is 7-fold, then Lamech's is 77-fold. So rather than having regard for human life, he's bragging about his murder and how it's presumptuous on God that God is going to defend him in his murder. Look how strong I am. The point up until this point is that sin is entering into the society. Cities are being made, cultures being formed, and everything is messed up. Remember again, the problem doesn't begin with the society. The problem begins with the heart, the individual heart. We've all sinned. We've all fallen short of the glory of God. We have this sin in our heart crouching at the door. We have to master it, but it turns out we really can't do that very well. It's going to need a solution from God. And now sin is becoming pervasive throughout human society. That's the point. And it's coming through the lineage of Cain. But there is hope. And in verse 25, we read, Adam knew his wife again, and she bore a son and called him Seth. For she said, God has appointed, again play on words, for me another offspring instead of Abel, for Cain killed him. So now we're going to have two lines. We're going to have the line of Cain and the line of Seth. Seth's line is going to be righteous, Cain is unrighteous, but it doesn't mean that Seth's line is going to be perfect. Sin affects everybody. Verse 26 at the end of chapter 4 is critically important. To Seth also was born a son. He called his name Enosh. At that time, people began to call upon the name of the Lord. That's the key. Remember, Cain went away from the Lord. He went to the east, to the land of Nod. But now under Seth, people are looking for the Lord. They're looking to have a relationship with God. And God is going to affect that. He's going to watch out over his people, and ultimately he's going to provide a way back to himself. The origins of sin is in chapter 3, but the pervasiveness of sin into all of human society comes in chapter 4. And things, unfortunately, just get worse and worse and worse.